welcome in to the Thursday, April the 21st, 2016 edition of the Bottom Line Lexington podcast. Not much locally going on here today other than Marcus Lee of UK has basically told everyone he's going pro no matter what. He's not going to get drafted either in the first round or the second round. So for my money, this is a huge mistake. If you look at the numbers, it's easy to look at. He played 100 career games at UK. 3.9 points a game, 3.6 rebounds a game, 13.7 minutes a game. That's all I need to know. Did he come on at the end, using these horrible cliches and conjecture that people like to use? Ooh, he came on strong at the end of his career. Not really. The highest point total he had in his entire career, the very first game he played 3 years ago against UNC Asheville, 17 points. Never topped that number again. So I don't think he exactly rose to the occasion when given the opportunity this season. People are like, oh, if he gets on the right team. Well, he was on the right team this year. UK was begging him to be a big force on that team, and he couldn't do it, whether it was foul trouble or lack of talent. He simply wasn't good enough. So why does he think he's going to be good enough to play in the NBA? I think he knows he's not going to the NBA. I think he's thinking D-League or Europe just to get a few dollars in his pocket. The bottom line on Marcus Lee going pro is this. If he stays around next year, he gets exposed. He doesn't get as much playing time. He gets exposed as the fraud he is. It's a mistake for him to go pro, but really it's a mistake for him to stay too. He's not in the top 100 draft prospects, so he doesn't really have a choice. Good luck, Marcus Lee, but dude, it ain't happening for you, brother. By the way, I was in the car this morning. I was going to Starbucks, and I got my receipt here somewhere. I was listening, I was turning on the radio. This paper sound is my receipt from Starbucks. And I happened to hear Jamal Murray on another radio show. I think you guys know which one it was. And I just was so appalled at the questions they were asking him. Now, I don't know if these were tweeted in questions. I don't know if these were fed questions. I know the radio show that he was on is getting paid to have these kids come on the show. But, I mean, when you get Jamal Murray or any of these UK kids on the show, what are you really getting from these people? You're not getting any information. You're not having entertaining and informative radio. You're just placating somebody who's going to make a couple of dollars from this. I wouldn't have these kids on my show, but then again, I don't have millions and millions of fans either. So that's the difference. But I had to write down. I could not believe the questioning. Now, I wrote these down, and these are, swear to God, hand on a Bible questions that was asked of Jamal Murray on a radio show this morning. What kind of gum do you chew? What were your favorite teams growing up? How low can you get your heart rate? Do you meditate before games? Do you want to be the number one draft pick? Who's the funniest player on UK's team? Who's the biggest ladies' man on UK's team? What's the oddest fan interaction you have experienced? Wow, these are deep questions. Apparently, I tuned in at the very end of the interview, but come on, this is all you got? I know you're getting paid to interview this kid, but sheesh, can you ask anything of relevance? But like I said, I wouldn't have a kid like this on my show because you're not going to get anything from him. It's not the kid's fault, it's just not good radio. That's just my opinion. Then again, I've only been on in the 9th biggest market in America, so what do I know? Bottom line, don't need to have college kids on the radio. What are they going to give you? Speaking of UK basketball players, KarlAnthony Towns got a gift yesterday as Tom Thibodeau will be his new coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had a .647 winning percentage in Chicago in 5 years. He only won 3 series, though. How good is the coach? You can always tell by how they do after the coach leaves. Fred Hoiberg was brought in to coach the team this year. They won 8 fewer games. Bottom line, this is a great job because you've got Towns and Anthony Wiggins, both at 20 years old, 2 of the best young players in the NBA. This is a dream job. Tibbs was rumored to go to the Lakers. The T-Wolves is a much better job at this point. It's not even close because of Towns and Wiggins. The Reds won yesterday. I figured out the Reds' recipe for success. Get a lead, hang tight early in the game, bullpen blows it, especially in the 8th inning, and then just hope to come back and hope you've got enough to hold them off at the end. By the way, the 8th inning this year, that is the Ohlendorf, Jumbo, J.J. Hoover time of the game. They have allowed, of the 79 runs the Reds have given up this year, 24 of them have been given up in the 8th inning. You'd think, in theory, Since there's 9 innings in a game, you would only give up 11% of your runs in one inning. No, they've given up 30.3% of their total runs in the 8th inning. That's crazy. And that's all due to that horrible bullpen. By the way, a first for me yesterday, I've never seen this. You know in the old Little League when they appeal that somebody missed third base? It actually worked yesterday. They went to the replay booth. Pitcher just steps off the mound, throws it to third. Umpire calls him out. Here comes the manager, Walt Weiss. We're going to the replay booth, and they confirm it. I've never seen that before. I guess you stick around long enough, you'll see anything. By the way, Ohlendorf got the win yesterday. How meaningless is the win statistic? Ohlendorf has an 8.22 ERA. He has 3 of the Reds' 8 wins on the year. The win is the most useless statistic in baseball. Tucker Barnhart got the game-winning RBI, filling in for Devin Mesoraco. Who's the better option at catcher right now? Devin Mesoraco, 36 at-bats, 161 average, 1 RBI on the year, OPS plus, where an average is 100. His is 32. Tucker Barnhart, 26 at-bats, 348 average, OPS plus 124, with an on-base percentage of 423. It's time the Reds have to start asking themselves, is it time to give Tucker Barnhart more at-bats over Devin Mesoraco? He hasn't been the same since that hip injury last year, and this is his 6th year in the major leagues, Mesoraco. You take out 2014, he's not even a major league caliber player. 2014, he had 25 home runs and 80 RBIs. That's more than the rest of his career combined. I think it's time to put Mesoraco out to pasture and give Tucker Barnhart a majority of the at-bats at catcher. Bottom line for the Reds, they're 8-7, 3 games behind the mighty Chicago Cubs, and if the season ended today, the Reds are a wild card team. Unbelievable. 4 games with the Cubs this weekend might temper those expectations, though, going forward. Look for the Reds to start losing to Jake Arrieta tonight. Football, Eagles trade for the number 2 pick with the Browns. By the way, now the first 2 picks of the draft are the Rams and the Eagles. Both these teams traded their quarterbacks to each other last year, Sam Bradford for Nick Foles. Ironic, don't you think? Of course, Sam Bradford came out yesterday after the trade and said, "Ooh, I'm mad now. I'm really going to play hard." Dude, this is your 7th year in the league. You're 29 years old. It's about time. But I don't blame these teams for moving up. If I want a quarterback, I will move up in the draft. If I don't need a quarterback, you move down every time. But the thing is, look at the Eagles. The last 4 years, their leading passers have all been different players. Bradford, Mark Sanchez, Nick Foles, and Michael Vick. Even the Rams, the last 3 years, they've had all different quarterbacks leading their team in passing. Nick Foles, Austin Davis, and Sam Bradford. What's the common denominator? Sam Bradford. I don't think he's long for the Eagles, especially if he's already causing a fuss. And the Eagles have already said they're just going to take the quarterback that doesn't get drafted first, whether it's Jared Goff or Carson Wentz. Bottom line, that Foles for Bradford trade last year was a disaster for both teams, if that's possible. But it just proves the point, you've got to have a quarterback in the NFL to win games. That goes for college football too, Drew Barker. By the way, good news for Morehead State basketball players next year. You don't have to practice as much. Apparently the NCAA with these APR penalties, Morehead only has to practice 16 hours a week next year, not 20. I guess the players are happy about that. They should fail more classes, I suppose. But these APR penalties, you look at the teams that are going to be banned from postseason play next year. In football, it's going to be Florida A&M, Howard, Savannah State, Morgan State, and Southern. In basketball, Alcorn State, Savannah State. What do all those schools have in common? They're all historically black colleges and universities. So do you think this whole rule about APR is biased against the historically black colleges and universities? A lot of people would say so, including myself. Everybody points to UConn in 2013 as the poster child of the Power 5 type school that got busted for not getting the grades. Was that a ploy by the NCAA just so they could punish these other smaller schools now and say, hey, we did UConn once, we can do it to anybody? This is all crap. If a kid is legal to play by his own school, the school should not be punished for the NCAA rules. This is ridiculous. Is it racially biased? For someone who lived in Atlanta 20 plus years, I can only imagine if something happened like that down there. I can only imagine what people down there would be saying about this. So what I'm saying is, this is a ridiculous rule. If the school passes the kid to be eligible to play, then the NCAA should pass the kid as well, and these schools should not be punished merely for academic performance. Curt Schilling was fired from ESPN yesterday for yet another social media faux pas. It's amazing. He put a picture on his Facebook of a rather large man wearing fake breasts saying that he wants to get into the women's bathroom. What goes through this guy's mind? A few months ago, he said Hillary Clinton should be buried under a jail somewhere. Then 3 months ago, he said that he's going to be fired because he made a donation to Ben Carson's campaign. And then last year, he tweeted a meme comparing Muslims to Nazis. Was suspended for that too. It's like anything else in life. Can you outperform the crime? If I go out and say something like this, nobody cares. It's like, what has this guy not done in the last few years? He had a video game studio that lost 9 figures, over $100 million, 38 studios. He's had cancer. He recovered from cancer. He says he's not getting in the Hall of Fame because he's so vocal on social media. Bottom line, you could be forgiven for almost anything in this world today except using the N-word and coming out with Muslim and Nazi stuff. Even Marge Schott got kicked out of baseball for talking about Hitler. It's time, Schilling. See ya, bro. Some other stories. Donald Trump went to Maryland yesterday. That's where Baltimore is, for those of you playing at home. And said that he was a big fan of Tom Brady. Baltimore is not a big fan of the Patriots. That's like someone coming to Lexington to give a speech with a Christian Laettner jersey on. Dude, know your public. Know your fan base you're speaking to. Stanley Johnson of the Pistons came out today and said, I'm in LeBron James's head. Last night in Game 2 of the Pistons-Cavs series, 22 minutes for Stanley Johnson, 9 points, and a plus-minus of minus 20, which was the worst on the floor. LeBron had 27, and of course they won the game big. But Johnson says, I want to hear LeBron talk when it's tied, not when they're up by 16 points. A lot of people are giving Johnson a hard time today. He does have a point. You ever notice LeBron is a lot nicer when they're winning games than when they're losing? There's something to it. I'm the only person I think in the world who thinks that. There's something to what Stanley Johnson said. But still, you can't publicly voice this in a playoff series, especially when you're the Pistons and you have no shot of advancing. This is what desperate teams do. When you know you have no chance, this is what you resort to, insulting the superstar on the other team. All right, if you're looking for a Mac Daddy Stogie tonight, we're going to go to baseball tonight because all of these NBA series are changing venues. We're going to wait till Game 4 to go on a lot of these games. So I'm going to go to baseball tonight. And you're looking, okay, which dog is going to come out and win tonight? Give me Rich Hill and the Oakland A's at New York and the Yankees. Rich Hill, a crafty left-hander. He's been around for a while. He's pitching well this year so far, whereas the Yankees' Luis Severino, not pitching very well so far. The A's are on a streak right now. They won 4 in a row. Give me the A's as a dog against the Yankees tonight, and that's your Mac Daddy Stogie of the day. And that's it for today's version of the Bottom Line Lexington podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Tweet us at Bottom Line Lex, or follow us on Facebook, Bottom Line Lexington, and our website, bottomlinelexington.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you tomorrow. And as always, may the winners be yours.